My name is Lauren Kendrick. The night my husband told me I wasn't part of his real family, I stopped being part of his future. It happened at our kitchen table, the very place where we had shared 5 quiet years of dinners that looked ordinary but always felt safe. He still had his work boots on, dusty from the rail yard, and his tone was casual as he said, "It's better for Lily to have her real parents together this Christmas." I lifted my eyes from my mug and asked, "So, you and your ex will play house for 10 days, and I'll just be a ghost?" He didn't even look guilty, only tired in that self-righteous way men do when they believe they're acting nobly. "It's for her stability," he said, and I felt something inside shrink before splitting open. I didn't argue, didn't cry, only nodded, as if agreeing to some neutral plan about travel dates. "You should go then," I said, my voice flat, a proof of receipt kind of calm, not emotion. He smiled with relief, mistaking surrender for understanding, and reached across the table like I might still be part of the decision. "You'll spend the holidays with your sister, right?" he asked. I stared at him for a long moment before replying, "Sure, I'll find somewhere to be." The lie slid easily off my tongue because it wasn't meant for him, it was meant for me. When he rose to rinse his cup, I caught the back of his neck in the light and thought, there it is, the line between who I was and who I'll be next. I whispered, "Merry Christmas, Ryan," and he didn't hear. He thought the conversation was over. He had no idea it was only the beginning. The days following that dinner stretched thin and quiet, hollow rather than peaceful. Ryan still came home smelling of diesel and cold air, dropping his lunch pail on the counter like everything was normal. I paid the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, while he spoke of overtime and Lily's school fees as if our finances were a single entity rather than mine alone, keeping his afloat. "You're good with numbers," he said, meaning I'd handle the bills. And I did, because I always had. I noticed Dana's name creeping back into conversations, carried with a casualness too deliberate to be innocent. She texted about Lily's soccer practice, and he scrolled without looking at me. "She wants to coordinate schedules," he said. I asked if that was all. "Don't start," he replied, and I didn't, because I already had. I began writing everything down, dates, receipts, transfers, small notes in a spiral notebook labeled January. At work, Olivia leaned against my desk and said, "You look like someone trying to survive her own routine." I told her I was fine. She smirked, stirring her coffee. Fine is what people say right before the explosion. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but even my silence tasted like agreement. When Ryan came home late that night, he kissed my forehead and said, "Long day." I asked if he'd eaten, and he said, "Dana brought dinner for Lily. I just grabbed some." His words landed like static in the air. "You didn't think to call?" I asked. He shrugged. "It was last minute." I smiled thinly. "Everything is lately. Auction bright," I said. That night, after he went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table, looking at the lamp's reflection in my half-empty glass of water. The notebook lay open beside me, the word exit underlined twice. I wasn't planning a fight. I was planning freedom. The city moved on outside, indifferent, as if waiting for me to catch up. The email came on a Wednesday morning, buried between invoices and budget sheets. The subject line read, "Regional Controller Position Reopened." I had seen it before, 3 times over the past few years, each time deleting it with the excuse of wrong timing, too much to lose. But that morning, with Ryan's words still echoing in my ears, I opened it and read the first line twice before whispering, "Let's talk tomorrow." Then, at lunch, Olivia noticed the small lift in my voice. "You got news?" she asked. I nodded. "An offer. A real one this time." She leaned closer. "You're not turning it down again, are you?" I smiled at my reflection in the cafe window. Not this time. The decision felt less like rebellion and more like alignment. When I got home, Ryan sat on the couch surrounded by shopping bags. "Early gifts?" I asked. He grinned. "Just things for Lily." I picked up a small white bag and saw the boutique's name printed in gold. "Candles," I said. She's 11. His expression shifted. They're for Dana, he said quickly. From Lily. She wanted to surprise her mom. I held the receipt between my fingers. The ink was still fresh. This is for Lily? I asked quietly. She loves candles, he said, avoiding my eyes. So does Dana, I replied, setting the bag down like it burned. He sighed. Don't make this a thing. My tone remained even. Then don't make it obvious. He followed me into the kitchen, attempting small talk about dinner, bills, anything ordinary. You're working late tomorrow, he asked. Yeah, I said, eyes on the sink. Corporate call. He nodded without understanding what that meant. I told him, you'll be fine without me for one night. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat in the living room, rereading the offer. Salary, relocation package, start date, all staring back at me like a map out of my own house. I wrote my reply carefully. I accept. Send the contract. Then I closed the laptop, looked toward the bedroom door, and whispered to no one. He'll never see it coming. On the morning he packed for the holidays, the air felt rehearsed, as if he had practiced the scene alone. He folded sweaters with a calm I didn't recognize. You could come later. Maybe after Christmas, he said. I kept my tone steady. No, you said it's for your real family. The words landed like a closing door, quiet and final. He hesitated, holding his jacket halfway on. It's just for Lily, Lauren. I nodded. Then you should go be the father she remembers. When the car pulled away, I stood at the window until the taillights disappeared, then turned back to my desk and opened my laptop. The contract awaited in my inbox, already signed by corporate. I clicked send on the relocation acceptance, watched the email vanish, and whispered, "Merry Christmas" to me. Olivia texted that afternoon. You told him yet? I typed back. No, he'll see the moving truck before he sees it coming. By the weekend, she said. I had already called a realtor. The house was mine alone, purchased before the marriage, paid for with my own salary. Are you ready to list? She asked. I'm more than ready, I said, and she laughed like she understood the kind of freedom that comes from detachment. The sign went up on the lawn before his second day away. I watched it through the window, coffee in hand, and thought, closure looks like real estate paperwork. That night, sorting the mail, I found a bank envelope with his name and Dana's typed neatly in the corner. It read, authorization. My pulse didn't rise, it settled. I opened the letter. I read the numbers and almost admired the arrogance. He was setting up his future, I said quietly to the empty room. Too bad it wasn't mine. Olivia called the next morning while I boxed up books. You sound calm, she said. I told her I was. You're really selling the house? She asked. I'm liquidating illusions, I replied. She laughed, sharp and proud. Remind me never to cross you. I smiled. You'd need to matter first. I do, she said. A few hours later, the realtor texted. First showing confirmed. I glanced at the half-empty shelves and murmured, perfect timing. The silence of the house no longer ached. It felt strategic, a prelude to something earned. By the time Ryan texted that night, Dana's cooking, Lily thrilled. I had already booked my flight to Texas. I didn't answer. Some messages don't deserve delivery. The call came late afternoon, an unfamiliar number lighting up my phone. I answered, already knowing the tone before hearing it. Hi, she said, smooth but edged. This is Dana. We need to talk. I took a slow breath. Do we? A pause long enough to feel rehearsed. You're upsetting Ryan, she said. He's been a mess, crying, not sleeping. It's affecting Lily. I let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Your daughter? I asked. Yes, she said quickly. My daughter. I nodded to myself. The one I've helped raise for 5 years while you were inconsistent. That daughter. Her voice tightened. I'm here now. Congratulations, I said. You get to deal with the fallout. She exhaled, sharp and annoyed. You don't have to do this. You're being extreme. I almost smiled. I'm moving for work. That's all. Call it whatever helps you sleep. She scoffed. You're abandoning them. No, I said, calm and low. I was erased first. Silence pulsed on the line, the kind people feel when they realize they've lost footing. I don't want drama, she said finally. But he's here. You're not. And he's confused. That sounds like a you problem, I said. He made choices. You can help him live with them. Her tone sharpened again. What am I supposed to do with him? I almost laughed. You wanted your family back, I said. Now you've got the mortgage, the bills, and the crying. Good luck. One sighed. She didn't answer at first, maybe waiting for me to soften, to play civil. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter. You really don't care? I cared enough to stop pretending this was something it isn't. You'll see soon enough. He's not a prize. He's a project. The silence afterward felt final. I ended the call before she could recover her tone. For a moment, I stood there, phone in hand, hearing her words echo through the quiet room, the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock. Everything deliberate, as if the house itself held its breath. Then I set the phone down, poured a drink, and said to the empty air, "That's one call I won't be returning." 3 days later, the front door opened without warning. The suitcase wheels scraped across the floor, breaking the quiet I had built. Ryan stood in the doorway, eyes red, face pale, trying to look like someone who'd just found clarity. "We need to talk," he said, voice cracking. I stayed by the hallway light. "So talk." "I came home." "I'm choosing you," he said quickly. I studied him, hands shaking around the handle of his bag. "Is Lily here?" I asked. He looked down. "No, she's with Dana." I nodded once. "Then you didn't choose me. You hedged." He winced. "That's not fair." Fairness stopped mattering when loyalty did. He moved closer, desperate. "I love you," he said. "I made a mistake. I don't want to lose you." My tone didn't rise. "Did something happen with her?" His silence answered, but I made him say it. "She kissed me," he whispered. I let the words sit between us. 2 days ago, he said fast. I pulled away. I told her I was married. I nodded. "And then what?" He hesitated, searching for the version of truth that would hurt least. "I stayed," he said finally. "I didn't know what to do." I exhaled. "No. You knew exactly what to do. You wanted to see if it could work." He looked stricken. I was curious. I shook my head. "There's a difference." His voice rose. "I'm here now. Doesn't that mean anything?" I said quietly. "Only that you ran out of places to hide." He reached for my arm. I stepped back. "Please. I want to fix this," he begged. "Then come with me," I said. "In January to Texas, fully, with Lily." He froze. "I can't leave her," he said, voice trembling. I stared at him. "Then we're done." His lips parted, disbelief written across his face. "You're really ending this?" "I did," I replied. "You just showed up late." He stood there crying, hoping the noise would undo the damage. After 5 minutes of silence, he picked up the suitcase again. "I thought you'd fight," he said. I met his eyes. "I did, for 5 years alone." He nodded, broken, and walked out. The door closing sounded less like loss than confirmation. 2 weeks later, the moving truck arrived before sunrise, its engine humming like a countdown. I watched the boxes disappear one by one, each one lighter than it should have been. By noon, the house was empty, its silence clean and final. Olivia met me at the new apartment. "You look calm," she said. "I am," I told her. "You're really gone for good." I nodded. I had been gone the moment he said, "Real family." Texas felt different from the first morning. Bigger skies, fewer ghosts. Vincent greeted me at the office with a handshake that felt like permission. "Welcome to the new role," he said. "You'll do great here." "I already am," I answered. The work came fast, filling every corner of thought, leaving no space for old conversations. At night, the quiet in my apartment didn't ache, it settled. Back in Chicago, Ryan and Dana stayed in the old house long enough for the bills to catch up. Olivia texted once. "He looks worn down." I replied, "So does regret." She sent a thumbs-up emoji, and that was the end of it. The realtor emailed the closing documents a week later. I signed them without hesitation. "Congratulations. Sale complete," she wrote. When the deposit hit my account, I stared at the balance, not for the money, but because it marked the exact value of peace. Ryan tried calling once more. I let it ring out. I didn't need apologies disguised as clarity. Freedom doesn't announce itself. It arrives in silence. And when it does, you don't chase closure, you become it. 3 weeks after the move, a letter arrived in my mailbox. The handwriting was uneven but familiar. I sat on the edge of my bed, turning the envelope over before opening it. Ryan's name wasn't written anywhere, but I recognized the hesitation in every curve of the pen. Inside, his words began with a single sentence that read like an apology wearing someone else's clothes. "I never understood what I lost until I couldn't reach you. Ow." I read it twice, then folded it carefully and set it aside. He wrote about missing the sound of the house, the smell of my coffee, the steadiness I had given him. "I know I broke something I can't fix," he said. "And I don't know who I am without you." I traced the line with my thumb and said aloud, "You're exactly who you were with me. You just finally have to see it." There was no anger left, only the calm that comes after a storm's last echo. When I looked out the window, the city lights reflected on the glass like a reminder that new beginnings rarely make noise. I didn't write back. There was nothing to say that hadn't already been proven. Freedom doesn't need closure. It creates it. The divorce papers were already filed, the sale money cleared, and the silence between us had become permanent architecture. I stood by the window, holding the letter one last time before tucking it into a drawer. "He thought family was about blood," I said quietly. "I learned it's about who bleeds with you." The city moved beneath me, fast and indifferent, exactly how I liked it. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting to be chosen. The waiting was over. I had already chosen myself. Sentence that read like an apology wearing someone else's clothes. "I never understood what I lost until I couldn't reach you." Ow. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and set it aside. He wrote about missing the sound of the house, the smell of my coffee, the steadiness I had given him. "I know I broke something I can't fix," he said. "And I don't know who I am without you." I traced the line with my thumb and said aloud, "You're exactly who you were with me. You just finally have to see it." There was no anger left, only the calm that comes after a storm's last echo. When I looked out the window, the city lights reflected on the glass like a reminder that new beginnings rarely make noise. I didn't write back. There was nothing to say that hadn't already been proven. Freedom doesn't need closure. It creates it. The divorce papers were already filed, the sale money cleared, and the silence between us had become permanent architecture. I stood by the window, holding the letter one last time before tucking it into a drawer. "He thought family was about blood," I said quietly. "I learned it's about who bleeds with you." The city moved beneath me, fast and indifferent, exactly how I liked it. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting to be chosen. The waiting was over. I had already chosen myself. Sentence that read like an apology wearing someone else's clothes. "I never understood what I lost until I couldn't reach you." Ow. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and set it aside. He wrote about missing the sound of the house, the smell of my coffee, the steadiness I had given him. "I know I broke something I can't fix," he said. "And I don't know who I am without you." I traced the line with my thumb and said aloud, "You're exactly who you were with me. You just finally have to see it." There was no anger left, only the calm that comes after a storm's last echo. When I looked out the window, the city lights reflected on the glass like a reminder that new beginnings rarely make noise. I didn't write back. There was nothing to say that hadn't already been proven. Freedom doesn't need closure. It creates it. The divorce papers were already filed, the sale money cleared, and the silence between us had become permanent architecture. I stood by the window, holding the letter one last time before tucking it into a drawer. "He thought family was about blood," I said quietly. "I learned it's about who bleeds with you." The city moved beneath me, fast and indifferent, exactly how I liked it. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting to be chosen. The waiting was over. I had already chosen myself. Sentence that read like an apology wearing someone else's clothes. "I never understood what I lost until I couldn't reach you. Ow." I read it twice, then folded it carefully and set it aside. He wrote about missing the sound of the house, the smell of my coffee, the steadiness I had given him. "I know I broke something I can't fix," he said. "And I don't know who I am without you." I traced the line with my thumb and said aloud, "You're exactly who you were with me. You just finally have to see it." There was no anger left, only the calm that comes after a storm's last echo. When I looked out the window, the city lights reflected on the glass like a reminder that new beginnings rarely make noise. I didn't write back. There was nothing to say that hadn't already been proven. Freedom doesn't need closure. It creates it. The divorce papers were already filed, the sale money cleared, and the silence between us had become permanent architecture. I stood by the window, holding the letter one last time before tucking it into a drawer. "He thought family was about blood," I said quietly. "I learned it's about who bleeds with you." The city moved beneath me, fast and indifferent, exactly how I liked it. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting to be chosen. The waiting was over. I had already chosen myself.